So grab yourself your brick or your bolster. Sorry, Kit Kat. Just stood on the cat's feet. Okay. And getting into that comfortable spot in your body, whatever that is for you, whether it's a kneeling position with a bolster, maybe you've got a big cushion wrapped around a bolster or something similar. And then I've got my yoga bricks here ready for when we start to move. So I've just got those laid out in front of me. So just take a big breath in here, thinking about rising up as you do so. And a big exhale. Another big breath in here. And a big exhale again. Another big breath in. And this time as you exhale, either lowering the gaze or closing those eyes down. Take a few moments for yourself. There'll be those thoughts that pop up in the mind as they come along. Try to think of them as taxis. They're going to come through, but we can catch that one later. We don't need to process that in this hour. So thinking about bringing that connection into the pelvis, and with each inhale, thinking about rising from the pelvis. You might even want to take a little shimmy here from side to side on the sit bones, and maybe from front to back of the pubic bone, finding that neutral position in the middle. With those eyes closed, it might feel right to bring your hands to wrap them around the side of the rib cage, and thinking about taking a big breath in here. And as you exhale, drawing the rib cage up, getting that little bit taller in the side body, and trying to maintain that space. And we'll come further up the body into the shoulder blades. Thinking about drawing those together. As you do so, that chest will open, allowing more space for breath for that chest to rise. Coming up into the back of the neck and into the skull. You could, either with that low gaze or the eyes closed, bring the hands up to the crown so that the thumbs are on the cheekbones and the fingers are spread around the back of the skull. Thinking about drawing the cheekbones down and the back of the skull up, and the chin comes back. We're in creating that connection between the sacrum, the scapula, and the skull. And you might notice the way the breath moves through your body. It's changing from when you first stepped onto the mat. Those little tweaks create space. Then you might want to bring the hands either down onto your bum, maybe onto the heart space, or onto the thighs, wherever it feels right for you. There might be something that you want to pick to focus on, whether it's an area of the body that needs support or space, or there might be something happening in life at the moment that you're perhaps struggling with. You're looking for a way to change an approach to that. You might want to pick a word that will connect you to that intention. And from here, taking a big breath in and a big breath out. Another big breath in here, big breath out. And a last big breath in, the biggest breath so far. And take a big exhale and a big letting that out. And flutter those eyes open. And we're just going to take a little stretch here into our child's pose. So I'm going to stick with sitting on my bolster here. If it feels right for you, you might want to grab something similar to a bolster, maybe wrapping up a pillow. And then with those hands forward on those bricks, pushing that seat back, the arms reach forward. Big breath in here, thinking about finding length in the spine. So the tailbone wants to go as far away from the heel of the hands as possible. If it feels right, you might want to take a little shimmy here. And you can always do this with the knees together or the knees apart, depending where you are. You could also have something under the forehead, giving yourself space, depending on the depth available in your body. From here, we're going to rise up onto all fours. And you've also got the option to have bricks under the hands if you need a little bit of extra space between the bump and the mat, depending where you're at in your pregnancy. So it just gives you a little bit of lift. We're going to be pushing back on the heel of the hands, letting that chest come forward as you do. Push down through the entire hands. That spine will arch up, the gaze coming back towards your bump or the pubic bone. Pull back on the heel of the hands again, that chest comes forward. Thinking about drawing bump in and back. Push down through the entire hands again. Big breath in here. Big breath out, coming to that neutral position. Thinking about trying to keep the gaze down towards the ground. I'm going to take a few little shimmies of that spine, little C shapes if we were looking at us from above. So I'm going to push that left hip to the left and gaze towards that. Trying to get a view of what's happening. Come back to neutral, pushing the right hip to the right. Taking your gaze back to the right. Take a few of those. Finding space, and if there's one area where it's like, oh yeah, I want to push into that, push into it. Don't need permission, do what feels good if you find a spot that this gets into. From here, we're going to rise onto our shins. If you're on a bolster or sitting on a brick, taking that to the side, and we're going to come down into our bridge. So you might want to swing the knees to the side of the mat, bring the seat down, and if you've got a brick, keeping that nearby. So we'll be on the back just for a moment as we transition. So those knees are up to the sky, the feet are on the mat, pointing straight ahead. And there's no need to bring the feet towards the seat, just where they land. Palms are down beside the hips. Take a big breath in, have that yoga brick nearby if you have that. And exhale, lifting that pelvis off the mat, and you could pop the brick underneath the sacrum. And you could rest on that sacrum, on that brick. Otherwise, it might be a cushion if you don't have a brick.
And you could take a little lift of the lower half of the sacrum. Gets a bit more glute engagement there. Taking another big breath in here. Exhale, lifting off that brick. If you feel okay without the brick, you might want to keep that and slide it away. Otherwise, we're taking little pulses of the pelvis up and down onto the brick and off. Take whatever feels right for your body. We'll be doing a few of these, so there's no middle. Take whatever feels right for you. Slowly stepping that spine back down onto the mat. And then from here, we're going to step those feet a little bit wider so that the outside edge of the foot is on the edge of the mat. Then those arms will be reaching away, so we're like a T shape. The palms will be facing up towards the sky. Taking a big breath in here. Exhale, we'll let the knees softly come towards the left-hand side. It's not about bringing the knees down to the left, it's just a little bit of a lean to the left. Push down with the right foot. Bring the right hand onto the front of the pelvis, that front pelvic point, kind of that bony bit. And push into that. Use those glutes to fire up here. And the right glute might lift off the mat now. Bringing the knees back to center and the right side of the pelvis down, extending that right arm away. Take a big breath in here. Exhale, we'll let the knees come slightly towards the right. Take that left hand onto that left pelvic point, top of that, and push into that pelvic point. So the left glute lifts off the mat a little bit. Push down with that left foot. Helps to open up those hip flexors, which can be getting quite tight during pregnancy. All around the hips can start to get a bit wrapped up. And then we'll bring the knees back into center. From here, we're going to be rising up, so you might want to roll to your favorite side. Let those shins come back under you. Walking back onto all fours, and then walking the hands up the thighs. So we're going to do a few glute leans here. So that's to engage those glutes as we lean back. So you've got the option whether you want to have those toes tucked or have the foot flat, depending on the balance in your body and also how those knees feel on the mat. When the toes are tucked, there's a little bit more of that kneecap into the mat. So see how it feels for you. We're going to have those hands behind us. The heel of the hand will be on the sacrum, and then the fingers are pointing down. Taking a big breath in here. Keep that chin drawn in. Exhale, leaning back. Rising back up. Big breath in here. Exhale, lean back. Hopefully you can feel some action in those glutes there. Rising back up. Another big breath in here. Exhale, leaning back. Rising up. Another big breath in. Exhale, leaning back. Maybe you're finding that you're a little bit more comfortable to come a little bit further back, which will be a little bit more action in those hamstrings as well, the back of the thighs there. Rising up. Big breath in. Exhale, leaning back. Maybe getting into the quads a little bit and the front of the thighs as well. Rising back up. From here, we're going to make our way to standing via a downward dog. So we'll bring those hands down onto the mat, tuck those toes. We'll take a big breath in here. We're just going to lift the knees an inch off the mat. And lower. Another big breath in here. And exhale, a couple of inches off the mat this time. And lower down. Thinking about keeping that spine in neutral. Big breath in. Exhale, lifting those knees all the way off the mat. Thinking about the pelvis coming back. The heels don't have to touch the ground, they probably won't. You can step the feet wider, bend those knees more, make the adjustments for your body that keeps your spine feeling long and strong. Maybe you want to take a little lean to the left, to the right, finding space. And think back to that little C shape that we made with our spine in the beginning. Maybe letting the left hip pop to the left. Can't really gaze left this time though. Come back to center. Let the hip come to the right. And back to center. This is walking the hands back towards the feet. Lengthen the legs, rising up with a long spine. So that's one way to rise up, especially if you get a little bit of the low blood pressure and a bit of dizziness, is walking the hands back instead of stepping feet forward. Finding that line, finding that connection in the spine and in that pelvis. Stepping to the top of the mat. And we're going to come into our first sun salutation. This is where we probably want those bricks again. We'll take those on the higher settings towards the top of the mat. If you're feeling you've still got space in your body, you may not want those. See how you go. So take a big breath in here, checking that alignment, and a big exhale. Another big breath in, those arms will rise. Keep the ribs drawn in if you can. Exhale, hinging at the hips, hands come down. Right foot back, right knee down, the top of the foot comes down. That left leg can be as wide as you need it to be. Inhale, the arms will rise up. Think about what we did in that reset, drawing those ribs up, finding space from the pelvis. Exhale, hands will come down. Slide or step the left foot back. Step the bricks down a level if you're using those. Then we're going to take a little bend of the elbows back towards our belly buttons. And then push into the heel of the hands, letting that chest come forward. Tuck the toes, lift to our downward dog. Stepping the feet in, stepping the feet out, doing whatever is right for you. Thinking about length in the spine, pushing back in the pelvis. Right foot forward, left knee down, and the top of the foot. Inhale, the arms rise, lengthen space, growing tall. Exhale, hands come down, left foot steps in, bricks lift up. Inhale to rise. So we've lifted ourselves up from being on all fours by either walking the hands back and rising up, or walking the feet in and rising up. Know you've got both those options and choose whichever's right for you at any point. Inhale, the arms rise. Exhale, hinging at the hips, hands come down. And you might just want to take a little shimmy here, finding some space in the pelvis, in the spine. We can always take a moment to find some space. We're going to step back with that left foot, left knee comes down, and the top of the foot. Inhale, the arms rise. Pull back on the front heel, fire that back glute. Exhale, hands come down, brick step down a level. Step back into your plank with the options for the knees down. We're going to pull back on the heel of the hands as we lower, then push into the heel of the hands as we rise into that cobra adjustment. Tucking those toes, lifting to your downward dog. Step the feet in, step them out if you need to, and take that little shimmy from side to side, thinking about length in the pelvis, space in the pelvis. Left foot forward, right knee down, and the top of the foot. Inhale, the arms will rise.
Exhale, hands come down, bricks lift up a level. Right foot forward. Inhale, the arms rise. We're going to vary that a little bit now. So exhale, hinging at the hips, hands come down. Right foot back, right knee down, and the top of the foot stays tucked. Inhale, the arms rise. Opening those arms wide. We're going to spin to our right just a smidge. So it's just an inch or so from the center line of the body that we come to the right. Back to center, hands come down, brick step down, step back into your plank. Elbows come back. Push down to the heel of the hand for cobra. Lifting up to your downward dog. Right foot forward, left knee down, the foot stays tucked, the arms rise and open up. We're going to twist just an inch or so to our left. We want to keep that pelvis active and the glutes active. Come back to center, hands come down, brick step up, left foot in. Shimmy here if it feels good for your pelvis. And inhale to rise. Exhale, hinging at the hips, hands come down, left foot back, left knee down, the top of the foot is tucked. The arms rise, reaching up high, crossing the right thumb over the left, spreading those fingers, and try to pull those apart. The elbows open up. Arms rise back up again, hands come down onto the bricks, they step down a level. Step back into your plank. Take whatever option of plank feels good for you. We're going to lower down. Push into the heel of the hands, coming into our cobra variation. Lifting to your downward dog. Tabletop is always your option. Left foot forward, right knee down, the toes stay tucked. The arms rise. Left thumb in front of the right thumb this time. The fingers are spread. Draw those elbows apart. Try to pull those thumbs apart. And soften. Hands come down to the bricks. Step up a level. Right foot in. Inhale to rise. Hands come to heart center. So that's that first sequence we've moved through. So we're going to start getting ready for our second sequence here. So I'm going to be stepping my bricks so they're flat on the ground here. So I've got some support in that next sequence. Just gives that extra bit of space for the body. So checking that alignment in that pelvis, always making sure we're as long and as neutral in the pelvis as we can be. Taking a big breath in, those arms come up, hands to heart center. Focus on keeping those knees over the ankles. We're going to push that seat back, hinging at those hips, coming into our chair pose. Pretty fast. We're just going to take a couple of tucks of that tailbone, opening up that lower back, pushing that tailbone back, tucking that tailbone, pushing it back. Coming back to that neutral position. We're going to step back with that right foot. So we're in our tilted lunge here. We're going to bend that right knee to come into our crescent lunge. Big breath in here, big breath out. And you could bring your hands onto the hip crease or onto bump, whichever feels right for you. And just check that you're drawing everything into the center and back. Might be hard the further along you are, but think about having some energy, some action in that bump. Inhale, those arms come up. The hands come down, the right shin comes down. That right shin will be running up and down the mat. That left foot can shuffle out as much as it needs to give you space. Big breath in here, big breath out. That left foot is going to drag back. It's going to be running parallel to the short side of the mat, the back of the mat. And that right shin, it might be on a diagonal coming off the mat.
we're going to be coming into our side plank variation. So see how much stability your body needs. See if you can lift that left hand onto the right shoulder socket. Think about drawing the sit bones together. Maybe you can bring that left hand all the way up to the sky. Those sit bones are firing, they're really drawing together. Thinking about that left shoulder being over the right shoulder. Maybe you can toe tap the left foot. Maybe the left foot can lift off the mat and you can pulse that left leg, which is going to help to fire up the glute medius, which is on the outside of the glutes, a smaller muscle, helping us with our stability. That left foot hand will come down, the left hand will come down. So we've got right shin down, left foot is long. And just tap that left toe. Maybe the left foot can lift up and you can pulse that left leg. Take whatever option is right for you. We'll bring that left shin down, we'll tuck the toes, walk the hands back towards the knees. Then we're going to be lifting onto the toes, lifting the knees off the mat. We'll push down through those feet. The hands could come to the knees as we lift and extend the back of the legs. They're not straight, we're just lifting. So we've got flexion at the ankles, the knees and the hips. Those hands could be on the knees. Maybe they're down on the calves. See where your body comes to. And shimmy that pelvis, finding more space in the pelvis. So I keep my hands in prayer here to help keep my chest open and my shoulder blades drawing together, rather than having my arms just hanging down. It's just a little something to create more space in the chest, even though we're working on the pelvis. Coming back to that neutral position. We'll extend those arms in front of us, thinking about a long spine here. Push down through the feet to slowly rise up, hands coming to heart center. And we're going to be doing a little bit of stability work here, and it changes for each person regardless of pregnancy, and it changes because of pregnancy. So just see where your stability is. You can always take your two peace fingers onto the glutes and tap those to help wake up the glute muscles. That's what I'll be doing. So we're going to ground down through the left foot, trying to keep everything drawn in. We're going to come onto the right big toe, and this may be where your body comes to. You might be able to tap that right big toe. Maybe you can bring that right knee towards the hip. Slowly placing that right foot down, or stepping the right foot forward if you were tapping the big toe. We'll repeat that on the other side. Left knee coming beside the right, tapping that left toe. Maybe that left knee can come up. Take whatever feels good for your body. Left foot steps down. Right big toe will step beside the left. Tap that. Maybe that right knee can come higher. Maybe your body is able to open that right knee and bring it back to center. Nice. And place that right foot down. So we're going to take that on the other side now. So just take a moment here. We don't need to rush into it. See how that body's feeling. Maybe you want to take a little standing shimmy. Hips and shoulders going in opposite directions. Coming back to that neutral position in the center. Big breath in, those arms rise, hands come to heart center in prayer. Keeping the knees over the ankles, lifting up through the arch of the feet and pushing that seat back. Take a tuck of that tailbone and reverse that. Tuck of that tailbone again. We want to spend more time with it tucked than pushed back. Helps to undo any lordosis, which is that extreme curvature of the lower spine. From here, we're going to step that left foot back. Maybe you do it in 2 steps. We bend that left knee to come into our crescent lunge, thinking about having the shoulders right over those hips. Maybe you bring your hands onto the pelvis, onto the side of the hips there, and draw that back. Do you want to come up to the rib cage, thinking about growing as you exhale. Those arms can then reach up, finding space through the shoulder blades. Those hands are going to come down onto the bricks if you've got those, and the left shin will come down. And again, we're going to come to that side plank variation, so that left shin might come onto a diagonal as you drag the right foot back. That left wrist is right under the left shoulder. See if you can bring that right hand to the left shoulder socket. Right arm up. Thinking about that right shoulder being on top of the left shoulder. Maybe you can tap the right big toe. Maybe the right leg lifts off the mat and you take small pulses of that right leg. Keeping those hips strong as well as finding space here. We step that right foot down, right hand comes down. So we've got left shin down, right leg is long. Thinking about keeping that neck long as well. You've got an option to tap the right big toe. Maybe you can lift that right leg and pulse it. Take the option that feels safest for your body. Then we'll bring the right shin down beside the left. We'll tuck those toes. Walk the hands back towards the knees. Lift the knees off the mat and they can come wide as you walk the hands back towards wherever it is that they're coming to. And then lengthen the legs, pushing down through the feet, coming into our happy squat. So we've got the flexion in the ankles, the knees and the hips. I bring my elbows to my knees and my hands come to prayer. Take whatever feels right for your body. We want to try and keep that spine long, whichever option we're taking. And then you could do that little shimmy with the pelvis from side to side. It's also, if you're going for or hoping for a vaginal delivery, it's a good one for leaning over a bed or leaning on your partner, whoever your partner may be for the day. Then we're going to walk the hands up the thighs, pushing into the thighs as we lengthen the legs, rising up slowly. Allow yourself a moment for that blood pressure to settle. If those feet are a little bit wider than normal for you at this point, maybe you shuffle the feet a little closer together. See what's right for you. We're going to be doing that balancing piece again. So again, choose if you want to have those hands in prayer if you're feeling stable, or if you need that extra bit of a wake up for the glutes, peace fingers tapping the glutes. We're going to ground down through that right leg. We're going to come onto the left big toe. Maybe you toe tap. Maybe you bring the left knee towards the hip, flexing that left toe. Left foot steps down. We bring the right big toe beside the left, tap that. Or maybe you bring the right knee towards the chest. Right foot steps down. Left foot comes beside it onto that left toe tapping. Maybe that left knee comes towards the chest. Maybe you can open that just a smidge. So it's just a few inches to really focus on that glute med. The knee might be able to go whoop, but we want to just keep it building strength mode here. Left foot down. Take a moment here. Take a big breath in. Exhale. Lower the gaze or close the eyes down. You might want to bring your hands onto baby or maybe onto your heart space, maybe a combination of the two. Take a moment here to tune into the rhythm of your body. Maybe there's even a little rhythm in the bump.
From here, we'll take another big breath in and exhale, fluttering those eyes open. From here, we're going to be standing at the top of that mat, and we're going to be doing a little bit of work to open those hips this time. So we're going to be stepping back with the right foot and then coming to the right side of the mat. So we're in our goddess pose. And we want to think about trying to keep those shoulders stacked over the pelvis, so we're not leaning forwards. This time we're long. Those knees stay in line with the second to third toe. So if you've got that tendency for the knees to roll in, we want to keep those knees in line. And then pulse. And again, if you want to check what's happening in your pelvis, you could bring one hand onto the front of the pelvis and one hand onto the sacrum, thinking about drawing those together and up. Rising back up, those feet will spin towards the top of the mat and those bricks are still there. So I'm going to be bringing my hands down. You might even want to lift your bricks up higher. Take whatever is right for you. The right foot's going to stay down. We're going to slide that left foot back beside the right, and maybe you can lift that right foot off the mat. Maybe that left foot taps as an alternative. Take whatever feels good for you. We'll let that left foot come down beside the right. Slide that right foot forward. Maybe it's wide, you've got some space there perhaps you need to create. And then rise back up, and we're going to spin to the left side of our mat. Taking our goddess pose on this side. Again, thinking about the shoulders staying over the sacrum. The knees stay in line with the second to third big toe. Open those arms up wide. Pretend you're holding oranges in those hands. And pulse those arms, small pulses backwards and forwards as the pelvis goes up and down. Lengthen those legs. Hands come to heart center. And the feet pivot to the front of the mat. The hands come down onto the bricks, sliding that right foot beside the left, and then maybe you can tap that right foot, or maybe that right leg can lift up. Take whatever feels good for you. Your tabletop is your alternative to this. That right foot will step forward, the left foot will join it. Take a little shimmy here in that pelvis, finding a bit of space again. From here, we're going to get that left shin down onto the mat. The right shin comes down. And we're going to come into a seated position of any variation that feels right for you. We're going to focus on finding some space in the shoulders. So I'm going to jump back onto my bolster. Bolster's a fab one for anyone with those pelvic issues. It's a little bit of cushioning. So I'm going to take a brick on either side here, on that higher setting because I'm on a bolster. If you're not sitting on a bolster, you could have the brick on a lower setting beside each hip. So to start with, we're going to take a big breath in, and those arms will reach straight out in front of us and all the way up. Big breath in here, big breath out, those hands will come down. We're going to be varying this. Inhale, the arms will rise up, open to our cactus arms. Thinking about elbows being in line with the shoulders, fingers are spread. And pulse those elbows, small pulses up and down. We want to keep our shoulders strong, as well as building the muscles around the shoulder joint. Because you're going to be lugging a little weight around shortly. The arms can come all the way up, hands can come down. Take a moment here. Take another big breath in. Exhale, those arms will rise all the way up and open into our cactus again. Instead of pulsing those elbows up and down, we're going to squeeze the shoulder blades together and open. Shoulder blades together and open. Take a few of those with your own breath. Real focus on the shoulder blades creating the action rather than pushing the shoulders back. We're drawing them together. Took me forever to figure this one out after a shoulder injury. The arms can come all the way up. The hands can come back down. We're going to focus on finding a little side body space now. So we're going to have that left hand on a left brick. Then we'll take a big breath in. That right arm will reach up. And then a little lean towards the left hand side. So push down onto the brick on the left hand side, or books or whatever you're using, to stop the body collapsing on the left side. We grow on the left and find space on the right. Thinking about drawing baby in and back as you do so. And that right hand can come down. So we've got a brick on that right now. We'll take a big breath in. That left arm will come all the way up. Big breath in. Exhale. That lean towards the right as you push down with the right hand on the right brick. Keeping baby drawn in and back. And that the left hand will come back down. We're going to let those bricks slide aside for a moment. We're just going to make a few pot circles. So again, finding that space in that pelvis. It's been all about the pelvis tonight. So we can have the hands on the thighs towards the knees, leaning into those hands, and then leaning to the left, back, or right, leaning into the hands. Taking a few of those circles, keeping them fairly small to start with. Getting bigger. Maybe getting those arms involved, those elbows are bending, leaning from one side to the other. Change direction, big circles the other way. Starting to make those smaller. And then coming back to the center. We've done a bit of work in those wrists, so we want to make sure that we've got some relief for those wrists now. And just also that carpal tunnel can get a bit flared up during pregnancy. So we're going to extend that left arm. We're going to take the right hand, thumb is on the top near the elbow, fingers around the back of the arm, and squeeze that arm like it's a tube of toothpaste, moving from the elbow up towards the wrist. Kind of a bit of a massage there, coming back down towards the elbow and then back up towards the wrist again. And then you'll take a finger and thumb around that wrist where there's that divot and draw, tighten and draw away. Then we're going to flex that left wrist, spreading those fingers so they're both all pointing ahead. Take the right hand fingers and draw down on the left fingers. So we've got a bend in the elbow, bend in the wrist. Getting into the wrist flexors, taking any tension out that may have built up during the day or from our flow. Switching sides now, we'll come to the right. Extending that right forearm, thumb is on the top, near the elbow, fingers are on the back. Squish, 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 working our way from the elbow up towards the wrist. And coming back down. And there might be a spot you kind of find where that thumb gets into and you're like, yeah, release that, hold that. Then we come into that divot in the wrist, thumb and finger wrap around that, squeezing that tight and drawing that away from you. Softening that. We let the right palm pushing into the sky, the elbows flex, the wrist is flexed. We take those left fingers on top of the right fingers and draw back.
So we want to make sure that if you've got flexibility in those fingers, that it's not just the fingers stretching back, we want the wrist to open up as well. Letting that release. Now we're going to come down into our relaxation. So if you are past that 20-week mark, it is recommended that you do that left side lying. Alternatively, if you want to lie on the back, because that's what feels best for you, we prop ourselves up. So I use a brick underneath the bolster for a bit of extra height on that bolster, as well as having a brick to support the thighs. So you can back up onto that bolster, slowly lowering back down. Maybe you want the arms wide, maybe you want a bit of time with baby. You might want the legs straight out. Maybe the feet are planted, knees up to the sky. Maybe the feet come together and the knees come apart. Remember that extra relaxant in the body, that's where that brick is good, under the outer thigh, to support that. Take whatever feels good for you. You might prefer to be in a seated position. Everything is a good option. Just taking a big breath in here. Big breath out. Another big breath in. Big breath out. Even bigger breath in, biggest breath so far. And a big breath out. Now just allow yourself some time to absorb that flow. Any sensations in the body? Any thoughts coming up in the mind?
slowly starting to wiggle those fingers and toes, making circles with the wrists and the ankles. If you feel like a big stretch, you could reach those arms and legs away, spreading the fingers and toes. Then slowly making your way into a seated position with the low gaze or the eyes closed. Taking a big breath in, those arms rise up above the crown, hands meet in prayer. Thumbs come down to the space between the eyebrows. May peace be in your thoughts. Thumbs come down to the lips. May peace be in your words. Thumbs come down to the heart center. May peace be in your actions. Hands come down to the bump. May peace be with your baby. We bring our hands back to heart center, bowing the heads. Thank yourself for creating time for your mind and for your body today. And thank you from me for joining this flow today.